Yay. Okay, see, it looks like we also have unlimited minutes. That's great. So we don't have to zoom out after 40 minutes and come back again. Okay, Tabby, we have 47 people so far. I
Yes.
think, and we are 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. We don't want to keep everyone waiting for too long. So
Okay.
I'm going to recommend that we start the program and that you let people in
All right.
as they
As they come in.
yes.
Okay.
So if people come through, then that's fine. We can let them in. Good morning, Tabi. Actually, before I continue, can I ask you then to mute everyone? When you mute everyone, it won't mute me. So you'll still be able to hear me talking. Just that we can eliminate.
Okay. It muted you. Can you unmute yourself, Eugene?
Okay, I think it says I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, fantastic. So let's just mute everybody else, and let me also ask everyone, because sometimes when we're trying to mute, it doesn't always mute everyone, and I can still hear some
There's some
background noise.
people, yeah.
So yeah, so try if you can go. Tabby, if you can
Yes.
just go through all of them one by one and just mute them, because sometimes you can see them on the list and then you can just mute them if they're not muted, so that we can block out that
The noise.
outside noise.
Okay.
Okay. So good morning, everybody. My name is Eugene. I'm from the National Arts Council. The purpose for today's session is to assist new applicants who are applying for the current call for funding. Just to help them to understand what the NAC funding criteria is for this new cycle or round of funding, and also to understand, because there's been a lot of talk around COVID-19 and COVID-19 compliance. So we want to chat to you about what that is and what it is that we're expecting in terms of the proposals that we are going to be receiving for this current call, which closes next week, Friday, on the 19th of June. So for us to talk about what COVID-19 compliance is and what the expectations are in terms of the applications that we are going to receive. Then later on, we are also going to go through the NAC application form. So we're going to touch very briefly, though, on the NAC application form. And then if you've had any challenges, if you've tried to apply for funding and you've had challenges with the application form, let us know what those challenges have been, and let's discuss them in the session, and let us provide advice or guidance on how to resolve those issues. If there are issues that we cannot resolve in this session, what we will do is we will post information on our Facebook page, on our social media pages, but also we're going to ask you to email us at info@nac.org.za. So if there are any questions in the session that we are not able to answer, then we're going to ask you just to email us so that we can try to respond and assist you offline. Now, so this is the agenda that I've talked briefly through. In terms of the NAC panel, we've got Ms. Julie Debofa. She's the Arts Development Manager. However, she is in a board meeting today. We are hoping that she'll be able to come in and out of the sessions. But running the session today is Lindy Ngabo, and you'll see on this agenda here, she's going to take us through the NAC funding criteria, the COVID-19 compliance, and navigating the NAC application form. However, we have a team of people from the National Arts Council that are going to be able to respond during the question and answer session. And on the panel, we have Smangele Hlope, Puleng Lisala, and Shemaine Monare. Just in terms of some rules quickly, while we are doing the presentation, I think everyone's seen the agenda, so I can probably stop sharing this. What I'm going to request is, as we proceed with the presentation, if you could post your questions. There's a chat section at the bottom of your screen or on the side of your screen. It just depends on how your Zoom is set up. there's the chat section. So we're going to ask you just to post your questions there. I will start noting those questions. We'll respond to a lot of them as the presentations are happening. And then those that we feel that need to be discussed in the bigger forum, we highlight those, and we're going to talk about them and discuss them, and get the panel to assist in responding. At the end of the session, what we are also going to do is, if we still have time, we would like to finish the session in 2 hours, preferably. But depending on how the session goes, we could push it a little bit longer. Perhaps it can also take a shorter time. Then we'll allow for everyone to raise a hand, to pose a question, and then to get somebody from the NAC panel to respond. If everyone is sharp, can I ask you to do me a favor? At the bottom of your screens, we have the reactions button, and you'll see there's a hand, as you can see now, there's my hand, and there's a sharp sign. So if everyone is happy and we're ready to proceed, I'm going to hand over. Can I just see sharp signs from everyone? Lovely, I see some coming through. Then I'm going to... Trevor, can I ask you to mute yourself, or there's somebody else, there's some background noise coming through. And then I'm muted again. Okay, well, I'm not muted again. I'm going to now hand over to Lindy, and we're going to start a presentation. So Tabisile, you can present the, you can start sharing. I stopped sharing, so you can start sharing the NAC guidelines, and then Lindy will take us through that, and then we can proceed with the session. Thank you very much, guys, and I will see you later.
Okay.
Tabi, you can share the NAC.
Is it the presentation that you'd like me to share?
That's the one.
Okay.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, I'm gonna share it just now. Sorry, man.
Okay, no problem. Let's just hang tight.
It's just taking a little while to open up, but it's
okay. Let's not stress. We can wait a minute or two.
Okay.
We're also trying to figure out this new technology. Sometimes it doesn't always. We hope it does most times. But
I've just shared it. It's come on. Just let me know when you can see it.
Yay! Something is happening. There we go. Thank you very much, Tabi. It is now showing, so we're going to ask you to scroll as Lindy takes us through the session. Over to you, Lindy, and Tabi, you'll assist in scrolling the sheet. Thanks, Lindy.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to check if everyone is able to hear me. And
could I ask you maybe to speak up a little bit, Lindy, or maybe to use your sound bar at the bottom and see if you increase it. Does it make a difference? You are a little bit soft. We can hear you, but you are a little bit soft.
I'm going to try and project a little bit higher. I just want to get feedback if everyone can hear me.
If we can use the reaction signs, everyone, let's use the thumbs up sign, or if there's, you can't hear Lindy, don't use the thumbs up sign. Okay, we've got one person with a thumbs up, so they can hear you. Others have not put up thumbs up. Okay, 2 people, 3, 4, 5.
I'm gonna start, but I will stop if people do not hear. Please just give the signs.
Okay, let's use the chat, guys. If you can't hear, just use the chat and let us know. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you once again and welcome, and thank you for braving the cold. I'm going to be taking you through the NAC assessment criteria, methodology, and the COVID-19 compliance. I'm going to try to be as slow as possible so that I may be audible. And I just want to say, before we can start, the NAC has not changed completely what it stands for. It has not changed the criteria. This assessment criteria should be read in conjunction with our guidelines. If you go on a portal to apply, you're going to find NAC guidelines. NAC guidelines talk to each program and the areas that we fund and the areas that we do not support. So that's going to be your base document. While you're doing that, then you have to be aware of what the assessment criteria entails and the methods that are used by the review panel. Once you've applied, you do know that the application will go through the stages of being screened. The first stage being you get screened for compliance. So it's important that if you apply, make sure all the compliance documents are there. And please don't add documents that are not relevant, because during that screening process, the office will be able to pick it up, and then you're going to fail right at that stage. And then the second phase then is when we allocate the applications to the reviewers. And this is where the assessment criteria will kick in. This is the document that they're going to use as a base document to judge application, to check if applications are suitable. I can hear someone is saying, I cannot hear you, Lindy. Can we please attend to that person quickly? I just want to check if is she the only person that he or she the only person that does not hear me. Ladies, Sabisile?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Lindy. Maybe if we could just ask.
I've got
Sorry, Lindy.
and a lady that have said they can't hear. What's wrong with the volume? So can we check on their side if other people can hear me?
Okay, I see from Lesejo, I can hear you clearly. So it looks like it's not everyone. Okay, so somebody else says they can't hear you. Somebody else says what's wrong with the volume.
Let me check my sound bar quickly, because I know it's on high. I really don't know why people can't hear me. Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna project a little higher again. Let's move. Sabisile, can I ask you to move to the next slide?
Okay, people are saying they can hear now, Lindy. Thank you.
Okay.
So I think projecting is the key.
Okay. The first slide talks to the changes, how we've changed. There is one of the source document that we make available to artists is a strategy, our strategic document for 2020 to 2025. As I said, we've tried to actually unpack our strategy document in our NAC guidelines, and just to highlight issues of that I think I need to just put up there is that our strategy says for people to be considered for application, the limit in terms of funding, in terms of amount that they can ask from the NAC, the minimum threshold will be 100,000 and the maximum will be 500,000.
Posted or say that something.
Thank you, Tabi. Can I ask you to move? Okay, Tabi, I've just unmuted myself.
Yes, there's some background noise, so sorry.
Yeah, I could hear it. Okay. This is an assessment criteria. It speaks to certain quadrants or areas where we actually look into when we're assessing applications. Basically, this is what it is, and I'm gonna be taking you through each of them and trying to actually unpack it. I think I need to fix my screen on the side. Lovely. I think I've managed to do that. It talks of when we look at application, we look at the program impact. We look, and the quadrant talks to the program impact, the criteria. Then the second, I don't know what to call this. I'm gonna call them the categories. We look at the criteria, and then we look at and then we elaborate or we unpack what the criteria means. So what happens is when we review application, we will check to say in terms of the proposal that the person has put through, in terms of interaction, innovation, diversity, artistic merit, we will check to say, does the application fit within the NAC criteria to start with? We'll check if the application is within merit. Merit talks to say, when you present an application to the NAC, you don't go out of scope. So basically, we'll look at innovative works on digital platforms now that we have the COVID-19 restrictions and protocols to observe. We'll look at showcasing and collaborations. We look if your application adheres to 2 out of 5 or 1 of the NAC values. And if I will talk to NAC values, our values are creative, we've got education, we've got social values, we've got therapeutic values. So basically, what the project will impact on. Basically, one may start a project and say, this is what I do. It's a project focused on a particular art form. It's about music development. It's about theater development. But inherent in a project, it has these values to say it's educational or it addresses social ills and all of that. But the key to present your project is that you must highlight what we are really interested in. First, the focus should be on an art form. It's not just to give a guide. It's not really preferable to say, I'll be doing a project in music, I'll be doing dance, it will be visual arts, because the project becomes very vague. So it has to drill down to the specific, to say, what exactly are you doing in developing that art form? And then you will move to say, what else will happen as a result of these projects? If then it will address social ills, to say the young people or the targeted group then will get informed, or they will get to have a safe space where they can come and practice their arts, then it has that. So as you prepare your application, you have to check that this is what, when we assess application, this is what we look into. And then we look at the ability to transform the sector. We do realize that transformation takes a longer time. This may not be an instant thing. It cannot happen just overnight. It can be measured over time. So as you present your proposal as an organization or as an individual, you will say short-term goals to do 1, 2, 3. And over long term, I can see that the application will transform the sector in one way or the other. It will, like for an example, you will not discriminate. It will cater for any other persons, for an example. It will provide equal opportunities, and then maybe preference will be given to projects outside the privileged provinces or overfunded metros. But what this slide talks to, it talks to us as the NAC to say, as the NAC also, our interventions is to see that we transform the sector by giving money to those that are less privileged or less resourced. So when we adjudicate on proposals, we look at to say, in terms of your project, as a person proposing the project, to what extent are you able to transform the sector, the community, and all of that? But on our end as the NAC, we also look at to say, how can we make this possible by making sure that in terms of distributing our funding is equitable. It's almost broken equally to all of the provinces, or to everyone else. And then we look at the lasting impact, the legacy. That relates to the one instance that I've referred to say, if you do a project, the impact may be felt over time. The legacy may be felt over time. So basically, at the beginning, you'll have your short-term goals. Over time, then we'll say there will be an impact. There will be an ability to enhance and strengthen capacity building, redress and transformation, showcase environmental awareness, multiplier effect, sustainability of art or programs offered, lasting effect. So basically, we'll look at the capability of yourself as an individual, if you applied as an individual, or of an organization, to say, where will this project lead over time? Will the project have impact or not? So things like that will come into play. Things like that will come into play when we assess the applications. I would like to pause a minute and ask Tavi to move to slide number 2. And while she does that, headsets have been recommended. I just want to get feedback to say, Am I not audible?
I can hear you, Lindy, and I'm hearing you clearly. What I have asked everyone to do is, if they still can't hear us, to try on their own devices to increase volume. That has worked for me. So you became louder, but you do sometimes soften in between sections. So maybe if you can just remember to project all the time, but otherwise it's very clear. Actually, maybe before Lindy even proceeds, can I just see with thumbs up that everyone is following the presentation, besides just the audio, that you're following the presentation and you are sharp. Just with the thumbs up on the reaction sides. I can hear you, honey. That's what somebody said, Lindy. So you are doing good.
Lovely. Okay, I'm going to try to continue. The second quadrant speaks to profiling. It speaks to the criteria there. It's global recognition, and it talks to artists as social change makers, recognition of artwork, product produced beyond own local boundaries, profiling, potential for profiling the NAC through the funded artistic work, strength in marketing of the NAC by campaign to engender trust and improve public perception. I felt like I needed to read that, because if any funder, just not the NAC only, if you propose and say, I want to be supported by a particular organization, organizations out there look for to say, what are we gonna, in exchange for us giving you money or supporting you, what sort of return on investment are we gonna get? What sort of like brand visibility are we gonna get? And we support because we stand for a particular mandate. And unfortunately, we cannot drive our own mandate by saying we'd run this program. We're not producing companies and all of that. So we need artists to come through. So you come through as a production company or a production house or a company, and then we give you money. But in exchange for that, we say, we want to be recognized at a certain level within your community, within your province, even globally. So we check the capabilities again of the project to say, does your project has the capacity does it have the intervention to become change makers? Does it have a certain kind of influence? And then the next criteria is increased access to market. We do look to say, okay, if we were to give you money as the NAC, what sort of added value will it give? Because some organization will need just money, an injection to start up. And once they start up, they gain this mileage or advantage to say, now I can even be able to reach a certain market, which I was unable to reach because I needed the basics. So basically, what it becomes important is that as you write the proposal, give the context to everything. If you're an emerging company, just say you're an emerging company. And what is it in terms of accessing the market? Where are you? Basically to say, I've established a niche market, I don't have it. And I think if I can get some capital injection, I'll be able to start and move that way. So basically bring some context in a very brief way, because even our application doesn't allow you to put a lot of information. So we try to say, please be as comprehensive as possible as you put in information. So you have to say, this is a target audience, but this is a market, this is everything you show us. So that at the end, we look at this increased access to market. This particular criteria speak again to say where the project is situated. Is it just a market, which is your immediate market where you live? Does it have the capability to move onto another market and open it up, or move even to an international market? And then the ability to change the view of the arts. So basically, as the NAC, we stand we advocate for the arts a great deal. And the project that we support it because once you become our alumni and you become our ambassador, in a sense that you're going to be advocating for the arts, to say, it can change perception to say, okay, after all, people can live out of the arts. After all, people can be supported. Government can support the arts. And in terms of elaboration, you've got audience reach, you've got recognize as power of social change and health advocacy, appreciation and enjoyment of the arts, showcase value of the arts. And I must just say, you know what, sometimes we take ourselves as a sector for granted. And it's times like this when you are locked down that you feel like, you know what, I know what the arts plays, the role that the arts plays in my life. I've never missed going to a social gathering, hanging around a gallery to see some works and be inspired, going to a concert. So it's things like that. Thank you, Tavi. I'll ask you to move, and I just want to notify everyone to say yes, of course, the presentation will be shared after the session. Tavi, you can move. I don't think I'm doing well in terms of time. Please go back. Tavi?
There it is.
Okay, can you go back again? I just want to
This
make sure that we're not
was
skipping.
this, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to make sure that we're not skipping. It's fine. We can
Skipping.
always go back if we skip. If we're
Okay.
Not, if we skip. Okay. The other quadrant speaks to partnerships and the capacity for partnerships. It talks to sourcing local and other partnerships, ability to source other funding in kind support for arts works. So as people present their applications, we encourage them to check their environment. Yes, the NAC may be able to give you money or the resources, but seeing that money is a scarce resource, the competition is very high. You should be able to demonstrate on your application the capacity for partnership, no matter how small. For an example, you do not need, you can ask the NAC for and I'll try to tear it down. You can use the NAC, you can, approach the NAC and ask money for a venue, to say, okay, I will need money to be supported for a venue. And then later you may decide to say, okay, by the way, this money is limited. In order for me to use the money that I've been given wisely, I can still go to my municipality and ask for a venue to be given to me as an in-kind. And if by the time you apply, it already has been given, you must just state on the application to say, I think for the venue, I'll have to approach my theater, my local community, and how it's going to be done. But on the issues, like now that we are in the COVID-19, that has been eliminated a bit. But with live streaming, you're still going to need, before you bring things live, you're still going to need the support of those theaters. Those theaters are still open. You will need to pre-record. And instead of going to say, okay, you're going to be asking the NAC for every bit, you can still say, okay, in my local theater, if they're open, I can still go pre-record and do things there so that by the time I'm ready for pre-screening, that is covered. And on your application, that has to show. And then we look at the capacity to pay it forward. The ability to enhance and strengthen capacity building, skills, possibility, educational value, and possibilities. The paid forward clause, this is what it means. Paid forward means it's almost, if you get given resources, we are aware that in your community or in your immediate community, there might be someone who's less privileged than you are. You can do it in any other format, even if it means exposing one of the emerging artists to come and see and witness how a show is done or a professional show is done. And you say to us, in terms of paying forward or taking care of the people in my community who are doing the same work that I'm doing, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to extend. This is how I'm going to ensure that this money that I'm giving or the funding has some kind of a multiplier effect. And then in terms of professional companies or professional artists, this is how they do it. They will say, okay, I'm doing purely a performance, but as part of development, I'm going to be doing workshops. It's going to be visual arts workshop. I'm going to be reaching out to schools. Not a great idea to use at the moment because schools we can't go to schools at this point in time. But just to say, I'm going to be running workshops, and that could be regarded as a paid forward element to say, okay, I've been giving you money purely for professional production, but in order that our impact is felt, we will play it forward by running workshops, even if it's just prior to the event. once or twice. Then the third element is community support. Projects and artists are part of the community fabric. Project designed to include a broader audience as part of the community life. Community involvement in planning through consultation and through previous activities. I just want to pause there and mention to say if you're going to go the route of asking funding from any other funder, you get given or you get considered because you are community-based, even if you are an individual. There's not a company out there which is going to give you money because you are the best person and you're doing things for yourself. So all we are saying is that, yes, projects, we're not saying our artists should become like NPOs and deal with social development, but within your space, we'll fund you because you belong into a community. And the resources are not sort of like self-centered to say, if Lindy applied, the resources are just to benefit me and the few members of my group. It's actually to look and take care of the arts community around you, the other people that may have the same interest as you, just to continue building one another. So as we look at projects, we do look at them that way. We do unpack them to that extent. So as you prepare your application, it's important to show these areas, to say you've thought about it. It might not be possible to say, I'm gonna do them because you don't have resources, but you just have to show that, you know what, I recognize that I belong in a certain community, and part of my maybe ideals is to advance the community where I live, so that we have at the end that better community which feels supported. There's a slide that we skipped. Tapsila, I think it's either you go back or you go ahead. Okay, so we did that. Okay, partnerships. Okay. Okay, it doesn't look like we skipped any. Can we move? Okay. Okay, this is a slide that we need to deal with. We talk about processes. As we talk about processes, we look at what is in place when you apply and what is not in place when you apply. So basically, you bring that context for things that you want to put in place and for the things that are not in place because maybe due to resources. For an example, we talk of organizational management, track record, technical skills to manage the project. The reason why we ask for a CV, that CV that we ask, it's a biography of the individual making an application or an individual representing an organization. But where an application that is presented to the NAC, for an example, it has to deal with capacity building, where you have to pull out skills from other places and other sectors or from certain individuals. We require you to bring the technical skills in order to manage that particular program at a particular time or that particular project at a particular time. So it's important that you bring that CV and the other CVs in case of capacity building of those individuals, because we know that as individuals, sometimes we specialized, we specialize in our areas and we don't have diverse skills. So you're welcome to do that. And then when we look at the application, we'll look at the track record of the organization, the track record of the individuals. Again, we're checking the capabilities to say, does the person has the knowledge, the know-how of how a project can be executed. So basically, we are saying, say to us, if you are emerging or you're a startup, say that I'm learning, I'm new, I'm self-taught. If you are trained, say again. Then we look at the budget and the finance management. And then the budget talks to demonstrate the ability to work and implement budget, sound and feasible budget. When you give us a budget, there's a section of the budget section, and then there's a section where we say you can attach a budget. Don't skip the one that talks to the budget section. We need you to complete it, and then we need you again, if your budget is you feel like it's larger, to give us a breakdown and a comprehensive budget that you can bring into. If you look at the application, our budget section will be divided into two. You'll have a section which says the overall budget of this project or the proposed project is this much. However, what is requested from the NAC is this much. You do need to complete both sections. Even if you require everything to be funded by the NAC, you still have to say the overall cost of the project is 100,000, and I require from the NAC 100,000. That demonstrates to say you don't have any other support or any other maybe potential sponsor that you've identified already. In terms of sound and feasible budgets have to be researched. We have going or standard budgets to say how much does it cost to hire a theater, how much does it cost for transport nowadays, how much does it cost to do anything. But then where budgets we feel like they are exorbitant or they are larger, that's when we need quotations. Because in your town, for an example, I can talk because I live in the city, for an example, to say prices are less. I found that with the small towns, prices are, or things, or to acquire anything is pricey because there's not a lot of people who buy the same thing. So what may cost less in my town may cost more in your town. So for you to substantiate so that the people who review understand to say, we're dealing with a different sector of the arts, and this is how really it costs for whatever the person is asking, we'll ask you to support it with quotations. And that's when then quotations becomes compulsory. It's when you do not have a researched or a feasible budget. Then we talk to feasibility and ability to comply. The person requesting funding or the organization should demonstrate the ability to comply with the NAC contract provisions, reporting and the reporting periods. Firstly, your document that you submit, you must be compliant. If you're compliant at the beginning, we do know that we're not going to have troubles asking you to comply as we move along. So we'll check. So a person, for an example, the reason why we will not consider a person who does not give us a tax compliance is because previously we used to be lenient and say, okay, we'll ask them to get it sorted while we're funding them. But by the time we start, the life of the project begins, people are not able to comply. So there must be some ability to comply. Comply with the contract, with the reporting periods, and the speed at which, if you said the project is going to happen at 6 months, during the 6 months period or a year, it should not extend after a year or 6 months, more than 3 months or 6 months, because we're trying to manage everything within the financial year for which we allocate monies to artists. Tabi, can I ask you to move?
Hi, Lindy and
Yes.
Tabi. So I see we're already 45 minutes in, so we are definitely taking long. Can I ask Lindy, with your permission, if we can just move to the COVID-19 compliance? Let's deal with that quickly in about 5 or 10 minutes. Then we can take questions and answers, and then we can move to the application form.
You know what, Eugene, I understand the suggestion and I welcome it. I'm just going to speed up. Can I just ask that we show the assessment and the scoring system just for viewing, to say I've run through the criteria, and then applications are going to be scored as per the previous slide. But that information will be provided, so we can move to the compliance. In terms of the compliance, we have the new directions from the Department of Arts and Culture on how gatherings have to be controlled, or on COVID-19 regulations and protocol. We advise everyone that applies to us to say they must follow up these protocols. People are not together in stadiums and events venue. And if they have together, if your project requires people to interact, they must be in numbers of less than 50. They must practice social distancing of about 2 meters. They must have sanitizers available, and everything must be taken care of. So they might be wearing their mask, because now a mask has become a basic wear nowadays. So we're just saying, please do comply. In addition to this is that we moving forward to say we're supporting projects that are going to be live streamed in one way or the other, that are going to be showcased on online platforms. So somehow you have to say, but if you really have to go out there and interact with people, please do comply. And I think we've covered everything. Tabi, you can move. I think the last slide is to wrap up. Thank you so much. I think we've come to the end of this particular presentation.
Thank you very much, Lindy. We can now open for question and answers. I see that there are some that have come through on the chat section. So I'm just going to take some of those questions. Lindy, you can take a break for a little bit. And then we can just do some questions and answers. Do we have Buleng and Shemaine in the session maybe to assist with answering questions? Tabi, I don't know if you can tell.
Yes, they are here. Puleng's here.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask Buleng and Shemaine to assist.
Here.
Sure.
Oh, Shemaine here, lovely.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask Shemaine and Buleng to assist so that Lindy, you can take a break and then prepare for the next one, because the next one, then you're going to take us briefly through the application form. Somebody has asked the question on registration. Does a company need to be registered? Yes, absolutely. A company absolutely has to be registered in order to apply for funding at the NAC. If you do not have compliance documents, and I've put this on the chat, but just possibly for the benefit of those who are not able to view the chat, if you are not registered properly and you do not have all the compliance documents, your application will be rejected before we have even had a chance to look at it. So sometimes very good projects can be overlooked because the basic compliance requirements have not been met. So where we ask for reference letters, and we ask for 3 reference letters, please make sure you have 3 reference letters. Where we ask for a tax clearance certificate, please make sure you have submitted a tax clearance certificate. Make sure that your tax clearance certificate is valid for 3 months at the time that you are applying, and not a tax clearance certificate that will expire the next day when you're busy with your application. So making sure that you've met all the compliance requirements is very, very important. So it doesn't matter how good your application is. If you've not met that compliance, we will not even get to a point of reviewing your application form. Somebody has asked whether an individual needs to be tax compliant too. Preferably yes, but we don't ask for that document. So it's required only for companies to have tax compliance certificates.
No, please, can I come in there?
Sure. Yes, Shemaine.
Yes. Was that a question regarding an individual applicant to say that they should they submit a tax clearance certificate?
Correct. Yes, Shemaine. Can you elaborate for us?
Yes. Even individual applicants in their individual capacity, they should submit their tax clearance certificate. So whether you are an organization or an individual, you do need to submit your tax clearance certificate.
Thank you very much, Shemaine, for that. Yes, I didn't realize that individuals required it as well, because I deal mostly with the companies. I didn't realize. So thank you for weighing in on that.
Pleasure.
So I just want to see what other questions we have, and then maybe we can. Must all organizations or companies be registered? Yes, absolutely. It has to be registered. If it's not registered, it's not a company. You can't apply as a company. Okay, so it says, what if you have a tax clearance certificate, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, the SARS office is very far? We are not compliant at the moment. Do you provide the tax certificate that we have now? Okay, I'm not understanding the last part of it, but what I think the first part is, so we can't get access to a tax clearance certificate, maybe because SARS is closed or because it's far away. It can be done online. So you can get a tax clearance certificate online. So just investigate that and maybe call the SARS office to find out how you can do that, or just go onto the website onto the SARS website and see how you can get a tax clearance certificate, but you can get a tax clearance certificate without going into SARS directly to collect one. Okay,
Please,
so
may I just emphasize there?
please,
Sorry,
sister, please.
Jean. Yes, I would just like to urge our applicants to say, please make sure that you do have a tax clearance certificate, because without that document, your application will be declined. So just make sure that that's a very important document to have when you're applying. So just make sure that your application, your tax clearance is valid, and it's there with your application. And because a lot of, as I was as we are screening applications, some of the certified ID copies are not certified. So we also would like to urge our applicants to ensure that they go to the police station and certify their IDs, because that's also very important.
Thank you so much, Shemaine. I appreciate that feedback. Hear my voice. I have noted that you have asked to be given a platform to ask a question. We'll come to that just now. Somebody is asking, reference letters from who? Who needs to give a reference letter? Shemaine or Puleng, can I ask one of you to take that? Thanks, Shemaine.
Sure, Eugene. So reference letters would then come from people that organizations that you have engaged with. Those would be organizations that have seen the work that you have done previously. It could be arts leaders, institutions such as you're moving into dance, your Vuyani dance companies, your Sibikwas and stuff. If they have seen the works that you have done previously, then you can ask such people to be able to write reference letters for you.
Thank you very much, Shemaine. The next question is, what other form of assistance can I receive from the NAC other than funding? Please excuse my dog. It's making a noise, but that's going to happen. We're on Zoom. Lindy, I see you've raised, so you can take that one. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not taking that question. I wanted to add on what Shemaine has said. To say, in terms of compliance documents are the same both for individuals and organizations, except that for individuals, we do not ask for financial statements. For organizations, we ask for financial statements. So a tax clearance applies all across. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lindy. And then somebody else has asked us that, Lindy, before we move, actually, what forms of assistance can applicants get from the NAC?
Okay, in terms of other additional assistance, the NAC has got ADOs, Arts Development Officers, for each and every program. We allow for contact in terms of like sending emails, calling people to ask for advice. But what the NAC staff cannot do is to write a proposal on behalf of anybody else. But in terms of compliance, sourcing information on things that you may require, your first point of contact is anybody at the office to say, how can I be assisted? Because if we can't assist you, we will try and refer you to where you can get assistance. That's what we can give as the NAC. So in terms of other assistance, other than funding, it becomes very difficult, because if it involves technical skills like arts skills, we'll need to refer you to the relevant people, because none of us has the skills to actually, assist in that regard.
Thank you very much, Lindy. And then we have a question on financial reporting. So does the NAC assist with reporting? I can just answer that quickly. Yes, we will. So the ADO that is assisting, or that's allocated to you, will assist you with your reporting processes. We do have a template that we provide. And there's also a financial reporting template, but you can ask your ADO if you are struggling on exactly how to do that reporting. Okay, and then there's another question on if the project works with school kids and the program is for virtual online learning. Yes, If the kids are able to access that platform, absolutely, those are the kinds of proposals that we are looking for. So yes, we will consider those applications. Should you apply for film? Should you attach a script? So I won't even read the rest of the question. The NAC does not fund film at all. We have a sister organization called the National Film and Video Foundation. They fund film projects. So because they fund film projects, we fund the other arts platforms, but not film. So you'd have to apply to the NFVF for a film program and not to the National Arts Council.
Okay, just to add on, in terms of working with kids during this year, the education is trying to save the academic year, and they've issued a new calendar. Just make sure that you are aware of the calendar, the academic calendar for the learners. And then if you do project, it should not actually be in conflict with those times, because that's where we find ourselves. Otherwise, if the panel assesses your application, they'll be checking to say, what are chances of this project even going ahead? So if you have to do it, and then you do know that people will be able to access it via online streaming, but do consider the calendar year.
Thank you very much for that, Lindy. And then somebody asked, are we talking about CIPC registered companies? Companies can also be registered as NPOs with the Department of Social Development. However, we will require that you still get a tax clearance certificate. A lot of people are under the impression that if you are registered as an NPO and you are exempt from tax, that you don't need to submit a tax clearance certificate. You can still get a tax clearance certificate for an NPO at SARS. So, so yes, you would still need to submit a tax clearance certificate, and it's not just CIPC registered companies. NPOs are registered with the Department of Social Development are also accepted. And then somebody else says that SARS does not give certificates anymore, they issue a PIN. That's correct. However, with that PIN, you are able to access the tax clearance certificate. And then for an individual who has no experience of all of this, does NAC offer assistance during the application? So you'd have to have some track record of doing the work that you would like to present to us. Without or with limited experience, that will be difficult for us to consider you. I'm going to ask Charmaine or Lindy just to weigh in a bit more on this, on whether the NAC will, if you don't have a track record, how do we assess this?
Well, if you don't
Charmaine,
have a track record,
okay. Yeah.
Okay, you don't get the application. We don't throw away an application because a person doesn't have a track record. So all we're asking is that indicate where you are, the stage of your life in terms of as an individual, as an organization, to say, I'm an emerging artist, I'm a startup company, and as a result, I do not have anything that is on track record, which is recorded or formally documented. And then, however, you have to state if you've done things. So basically in your application, you have to say, you have to mention and say, this is what I've done exactly in terms of me being an applicant or as an organization, though it's not documented. Where it's documented in the form of press releases, interviews, or anything, just make sure that they are neatly packaged, and then you can attach them as on the category where we say any previous works to support your application. You can just attach it there. And when you go to people that are supposed to give you references, you ask them to say they should bring that up on your references in terms of the work that you've done, which might not be documented. There's nothing that is as painful as reading a reference that is just saying, this is how I know the person, but does not mention on the person's capabilities, on the person's strength, in terms of what they are proposing. So your reference letter is important that it is relevant. And that is why we will say, we even go to the extent to say it should be recent, because we know then it's relevant, and it just says this is what you are playing, the role that you're playing within your community or with your organization. I don't
Thank
know,
you, Lynn.
may add.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
Charmaine?
Yes. Thanks, Ms. Lindy. And you've touched on the issue of references, which would tell us, would give details of the previous work that a person has done. Also, I just wanted to emphasize on your biography. You know, if it's as detailed and it will be precise and tell us of the works. I mean, you don't have to have traveled the world that the NAC would consider you, but if it's clearly stipulated in your bio or in your CV, that's why we ask for those documents, so that we get a sense of where you are. But your application will never be turned down because you are starting up, you are emerging. Instead, we encourage a lot of people who are starting up to apply so that they can grow with us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Shemaine. So from these responses, ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing is you can come in as an emerging artist, but just show us that you have the ability and the capability to do the work that you say you are going to be doing. The next question, I just want to say, Ishmael Sabia, you've asked if you can unmute and ask a question. So what you can do is, once we open up for you to start asking questions, and we're not reading from the chat box anymore, we are going to ask you you can just unmute it on your side once I call your name, and you'll be able to answer. So Ishmael, and hear my voice. I have not forgotten you. You'll be the first two will be able to pose questions once we open it up for questions. And then somebody says that the application form is quite tricky. Noxie, we are going to go through the application form and take you through the process of completing the application form. And at that point, when we start going through the application form, if you have questions, you can just raise your questions there. So the next question we have is from Ayanda. And Ayanda is asking, does an individual applicant need a letter of reference, for example, from someone applying for a writer's grant? Yes, please give us a reference letter from somebody who has worked with you before, who knows your writing ability. So basically reference letters are required from every single applicant and not only from some applicants. Okay, so somebody is asking about event promoters. Can they also write references? But I just want us to touch quickly on event promoters because that's been a contentious issue about whether event promoters are regarded as artists. So I don't know, Shemaine, can I ask you maybe to take that question for us?
I would actually ask Sis Lindy to take it.
Okay,
So,
sure.
Lindy, thank you.
Yeah, Lindy.
Okay, we try to discourage event promoters from applying. That includes the agents and the agents or producers of some sort, because we are saying we don't want artists not to learn anything through this process, and we don't want to support the middleman. We want the money to get directly to the artist. And if I will bring this in line with what I'm saying, is that, for an example, in music, we will say we do not fund recording. Yes, in today's times, people need some kind of a recording to be able to promote and all of that. We are saying, if we were to fund recording, there's a long value chain where money will have to be directed and it will not reach the artist. So we want the money to just go directly to the artist. So event promoters, we do not want to support them. That application will be thrown away. The artists themselves should lead the way, and they should make applications to us and say where they are struggling. If they want to appoint someone who's going to be handling their marketing and all of those areas, they must say so, because they must be the person leading the way and paying the other people. So, and then just to add on, we've seen a spike of individual artists also doing a lot of events. That's quite difficult, because if you will consider an individual saying, I'm doing an event, it's not that a good idea. If you're a creative person, yes, with a track record, you'll easily get money. But if you are a newcomer, we're just going to be asking all these questions to say, can we really put such a lot of money into an individual's account? What if the individual has got an emergency? Who do they consult if they need to use the money? Won't they be tempted to use the money and just abandon the project? So in terms of like making sure that the projects are administered correctly, we just don't want to support event organizers, and we just want to say individuals must stay away from proposing festivals. Rather propose when you're still involved in a creative process. And if you are doing a theater show or a play that involves less than 5 or 10 people maximum, then you can apply as an individual. But it becomes very difficult if you apply for a big production as an individual. So thank you. I don't know if I've covered.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much, Lindy. You've actually covered that quite adequately. I also see that the next part of the question was whether event promoters can provide reference letters. So yes, an event promoter can provide a reference letter for an artist who's applying for funding. So I see that we have a lot of questions that have come through on the chat board. I'm going to ask Shemaine and Buleng to assist us and to go through some of those questions that we have not responded to on the chat and try to answer those on the chat board. Because I see there's 26 new questions that have come through. Thank you very much for sending those questions through. What we will also do is I'll copy this chat box, and then I will email you if I've got your email addresses, and I can pick up very quickly your name and your email address from the RSVPs you sent. Otherwise, we are also, if you don't hear from us, just email info@nac.org.za, and then we are going to respond to those questions if they've not. You can ask a question there if we have not responded to it on the chat box. So just remember that there's also that platform. I'm just going to take 2 more questions from the chat box. And then we're going to allow Hear My Voice and Ishmael to ask their questions. So somebody else has asked, does the NAC fund script development? A quick answer to that, Lindy, is a yes, and we can move. Are you in agreement? We do fund script development. Correct?
Yes.
Lindy, I'm going to ask you to do this one as well. Does the NAC fund any sort of DJ live streams? Because I know that you're really into the music sector. So do we fund DJ live streams? Lindy, if you can take that one, and then we'll open for...
It's quite a difficult one, I must say, because it's the intent is to fund the creative process, and the intent is to make sure that our youth are part and not like discriminated against. And while we're not too keen to support DJs, it's also fair to give a chance, because this is the platform that gives opportunities to young people, and they also have an audience or a market or people that they appeal to. So I would encourage that if people are applying for such programs, they make sure that your application is as tight as possible. Make sure that it demonstrates quite well the audiences that you're trying to reach, and do talk about the element of creativity in the project, because we stand for creative processes when we support projects. We stand for the merits, to say, is this meriting favor? And also just do realize that you will be thrown into a competition with the rest of the people that are applying. So it's not just going to be like, okay, you've applied as a DJ, we'll look at your application. While we look at application individually, and we don't say we use a blanket to choose application, but funding is highly contested. So just write as much information as you can. But it's quite a difficult one.
Thank you very much, Lindy. Perhaps the question that was posed on the DJs, if you could just email us at info@nac.org.za, and then we can try to respond more fully to that question. And maybe you can give us some more information on what it is that you are wanting to do. Then we can provide you with more adequate information. There are 2 questions that have come up on, is the application call still opened? Yes, it is opened. It closes on the 19th of June, which is next week, Friday. So you still have this week and the weekend to complete the application form and to apply for funding. And then somebody else has asked, if we miss the deadline next week, when will we be open for the next funding cycle? It will open next year. So if you miss this one on the 19th of June for project funding, we'll open that funding again in 2021. I'm now going to allow Hear My Voice to ask a question. And after Hear My Voice, Ishmael can ask a question. So how we'll do it, we'll Hear My Voice will ask a question, and then Lindy or Charmaine will answer, and then Ishmael can ask a question, and Charmaine or Lindy can answer. Is Buleng also here? Maybe Buleng can also weigh in on some of the questions that are being asked. I'm just going to ask. Oh, thanks, Buleng. Okay, there I see you now. Now you've come up to the top of the screen. Thanks, Buleng. Can I just ask the NAC team as well, just to look at the chat board and just to see some of the questions that have been posted there that we perhaps are not getting to right away, and just to try to respond as we continue with the presentation.
Some of them,
yes, sure.
Yeah.
Some of them?
I'm attending to them, but privately.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you very much, Buleng. Maybe, Buleng, if I can ask you, I don't know how possible it is to respond to everybody so that everybody can see what the question is and how we're responding to
it.
it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks. All right.
So that we answer more people as possible. Hear My Voice. Can I ask you then to unmute yourself? You can just unmute yourself, and then you can ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Eugene, just take note. Hear My Voice and Ishmael Sabia, it's one person. I just had to change devices.
Okay, thank you.
So I have two questions, right? And I've been having difficulties getting answers regarding these ones. The first one being that because we can apply as individuals as well as an organization, right? If I apply as an individual and then I also lead an organization, am I also able to apply on behalf of the organization as well for two different projects? That's the first question. And the second question is that for the past financial year, last year, I got granted funds from the NAC, right, for an international touring project. Now, because of COVID-19, and literally right before the project was supposed to start, the lockdown happened, the travel restrictions happened. And however, we've put the project on hold. We've spoken to all the related stakeholders, international stakeholders, as well as co-funders, and they've all agreed to allow us to put the project on hold. And as soon as travel restrictions are done and it's safe to travel again, we can then pick up where we left off. And we've been able to recoup our costs, such as flights, accommodation, and all of that. All those costs we've been able to recoup. So technically, the funds that we received from the NAC are there, and they've been put into a savings account, and they are not being touched, right? So now my question is, and also the NAC contract allows up to 12 months to execute a project from the first tranche that you receive, right? So my question is now, seeing that this project is still there and hasn't been executed yet because of COVID-19 restrictions, and it's specifically in relation to international travel, can I apply for another project now for this financial year, for this, the one that's ending now on the 19th, even though I haven't executed the one that I received funds for last year? So that is the question. Yeah.
Okay. Ishmael, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Charmaine, I see, was that you who was trying to respond?
Yes. In fact, I just want
to... Charmaine, before you proceed, I just want to say to Ishmael, then you're going to answer the questions for Charmaine, but just to Ishmael, I would prefer that questions that relate to current funding that has been awarded, if you could email the ADO that you are working with. Do you know who the ADO is that you are working with?
It's Charmaine.
Oh, is it Charmaine? Okay.
Yes. So, in fact, I would like to have a bilateral with Ishmael. I have his details, so me and him will just have a chat. Is that fine, Ishmael?
Yes, that is fine. That is
Yeah,
fine.
thank you. Thank you.
In that regard, can I then just get an answer in regards to the first question then, if you can apply as an individual, as well as also apply as part of the organization as two different separate applications?
Okay, Shemaine, I'm going to ask you to take it, yeah?
Yes, with regards to that, Ishmael, I would urge you, because once we pick up that you exist, your name appears on two funding, then we will be forced to ask you to pull out one, because we can't support you for two projects in the same financial year. I don't know if we understand, but perhaps if there is someone else who can then take the lead in terms of the organization and apply under the organization's name, because I assume you are not working alone. You have a team of people that you're working with, and you can then apply in your individual capacity for your own direct project. I don't know if it makes sense.
Okay, I want to take that one because we've had a scenario like that. Sorry,
Yeah.
Shemaine.
Okay, please,
Thank you.
please.
So let me just respond to that. So we've had a scenario, and I spoke to Julie about how we address this, where we are currently funding an organization under Arts Organization Support Funding, and they wanted the individual to apply, or some of the individuals in the organization to apply for project funding. The point of the NAC funding is that we cannot fund every single person who applies. Our funds are limited, and we don't have enough funds to go around. But when we start giving funding to one group, whether it's an individual or an organization so if it's an individual within an organization that's already funded, what that means is that we are now allocating more funding to a small group of people, to an organization. So the organization is funded, the individual is funded. That becomes unfair to the thousands of other people who are also who are vying for the same NAC funding. Because then they're not getting funding, yet one individual is getting funding from an organization, so they benefit individually, plus they benefit from the organization. That becomes a bit unfair. And in fact, a number of organizations that have done that in the current financial year have been blacklisted. So not even just not given the funding. We've taken them out, they're not getting funding anymore, and we've blacklisted all of the individuals, because we find that to be unfair to everybody else who applies for NAC funding, because then you're benefiting as an individual, plus you're benefiting as an organization, and perhaps you've still got an open file with the NAC. So you're benefiting from the open file currently that you have with the NAC. You'll benefit as an individual and you'll benefit as an organization. That becomes unfair when there's thousands of people who are rejected for funding each year. We cannot centralize the funding to one group of people, to a number of, to like a small group that's very good at doing applications. You'll be blacklisted if we pick up that that's what you're doing, because it's an issue that we've dealt with recently. So we discourage any person who's already funded from applying. You could be blacklisted for doing that. We also discourage that if you can perhaps do the application as an individual and as an organization, but only one will get funding. So if the individual gets funding, the organization will not get funding. If the organization gets funding, the individual will not get funding, because we can't give to a group of people or like 2 or 3 people who write great proposals and have got amazing ideas. It's just because we have to try to spread the funding as much as possible across all of the provinces and to as many people as possible, because we do have very limited resources.
Thank you.
Is that clear though?
Yes, it is. It's definitely clear.
Yeah. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, because we are now 1 hour and 18 minutes into this presentation, we still have the NAC application form that we would like to take you through very quickly. And then depending on the time that we have after that presentation has been made, we'll see how long we can continue with the question and answer session, but do know that you can email us at info@nac.org.za if you have any more questions that you've not been able to raise on this platform. I hope that so far the questions that we've responded to and the presentation has been helpful. I'd like to see if I can, just with thumbs up. I know there's no thumbs down, but just for those who are feeling that there's sufficient information and assistance coming through here, if you can just indicate that quickly on the screens. Okay, I see some people responding with thumbs up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's what we're trying to do with this session, is we are trying to assist as much as we can. We have almost 70 people in the session. We might not be able to get to all of the questions, but I hope that the presentation has been helpful. And I hope that, you know, you can email us and we continue to answer your questions on an email platform or even call us. Lindy, I'm going to now ask that we move on to the application form that we can go through quickly. So everyone, if we can just give Lindy, and I don't know if Tabisile is assisting with projecting the application, and then we can start with that next part of the program.
Thank you so much. I'll try and share. I need to share the application form and try to navigate it with all of us. So I just need a second to do that.
Help you with the application form. Can I rather take the process of? Can I rather take the process of taking through everyone on the application form? Can I ask Priscilla maybe to project it on the screen?
You mean the form?
Yes.
Is that pulling?
Yes, it's pulling. Hello.
You want Priscilla to project?
I was asking, can I take over instead of you doing the application? Can I rather take people through the application?
Thank you so much. You can.
Yeah.
I'll help
Okay.
for you. We can help each other.
Okay. All right. Where should I start? Hello, everyone. This is Puleng. My role here today, and I'm asking politely to Cecilie to take over, is to help you guys to navigate through the application form. For the benefit of everyone, I would like Tabisile to project the application form. If she's still online, Eugene, can you please assist?
Puleng, I think you need, do you have the NAC test site?
Okay,
no,
let me just, you know what, let me just go, Puleng.
Yes.
Let me go there.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna share the screen and allow you to
Okay.
Okay, perhaps while Lindy is trying to present to get the screen, I'll tell you when it comes up, Lindy. It's still not yet up. Maybe I can take.
It's not up. I'm aware it's not up.
Okay, so while you're getting it up, Lindy, can I just, so that we are not sitting idly, I'll respond to some questions, and then as soon as it's shared, I'll stop asking questions or answering questions, and then we can go into the application form. Are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Lindy, okay, it looks like Lindy's ready. Okay, there we go. Lindy has it, so we won't take questions then. We'll just go straight into that.
Okay, I've got the form, and it's sitting, we've sort of skipped one step from registration, and then I'm gonna allow Puleng to actually create, but I'm not too sure. Puleng, I don't think you'll be able to, because now I've sort of shared the form, unless if you wanna come to my office and take it from here. Puleng?
Sis Lindy?
Hello, do you wanna come to my office?
I don't even have the test. Yeah.
Okay.
But
okay. Let me just take it on then. You'll talk through it. We'll do it. We'll do this together. Okay. If you look at the portal, the NAC portal, right on your right hand side, you've got the guide, the tutorials or guidelines on how to go about making an application form. And it is important that you read them, because they take you step by step on how to register your application. and how you get your password generated. It's just as normal as any other app that you've gone through, to say you need to use all the time your email address becomes your username, and then the password, the initial password, it gets auto-generated, and then it will come via your emails, which means every time you have to remember your email that you registered with, because then anything that changes will go to, any information will go to the email that you used as your username. Your initial password, which you can later change, will come through your username. And then what I'm going to be demonstrating now is the application form, and I would like to take you through the application form for an organization. You have to read every pop-up screen that comes. I'm not going to be going through the pop-up screen because it's just directions on how to navigate the form. It tells you this is how you're going to go to my application and work with the NAC. This is how you edit and how you do the rest of the things. So basically, I'm going to click and try and create an application for an organization. The application has got divisions, or is divided into sections where you have to give us information about the project. But just what has popped up on screen now, it's an application registration stage. That's when you register your application. I'll have to put a project name here, and then I'll have to put an individual or an organization name, and then you have to press a discipline, and then you have to press a sub-discipline. If you look at it this way, if you hadn't been highlighted a discipline, it doesn't allow you to go to the sub-discipline, for an example. For a discipline, if you click on it, okay, I don't know why it's not allowing me to. Okay, if you go to a discipline, for an example, let me start with first things first. I'm just gonna say, I don't know what the project is gonna be, but I'm gonna say music summer camp. And then for an individual or an organization, which will usually be because this is an organization, I'm just gonna think of an organization, and I'm gonna use the name. I'm just gonna use the name NAC for now, for the purpose of the exercise. If you pick up on craft, your subsection will show. For craft, it's not divided into any subsection. However, if you tap onto music, the music will show the musical theater and the music. Your musical theater is your opera kind of music, and then your ordinary music, all classified together. If you go to visual arts, it just pops up the sub-discipline, and then you're able to say it's either digital media, gaming, or visual arts. So basically, I'm gonna go with the one that I biased to, maybe, and then say this is a music project that I'm picking up here. And then it brings the focus areas. At the NAC, remember, on your portal, you'll have NAC guidelines. Your NAC guidelines will tell you exactly what art platforms entails. If we say art platforms, which projects are we talking about? It will show the capacity building, the innovation, design, and criteria. My apologies. Innovation, design, and creation, social cohesion, and nation building, strategic initiatives. So on our NAC guidelines, all of the criteria for these particular areas are there. So you can pick up yours and say, okay, for this particular one, it's innovation, design and creation, or it's social cohesion. Then you register an application. It processes it. Once the application is processed, it will allow me to continue. But while it's allowing you to continue, an auto email is generated to my emails. If I pop on my emails, which are the email that I used as a username, then I'll have an email that says, here's your application, here's your unique number, you applied for this project. Then I continue. When you continue, you are able to view a screen. Right at the top, if you focus on these tabs at the top, it shows you the section 1 is organizational details. Basically, that's personal information. The same applies for individuals. It's your personal information, where you reside, the province where you come from, the residential address, how we contact you, and all of that. Then the section talks to project details, this one and all of that. But then I'm gonna try, you can navigate between the section without even completing one of the sections while you are at the form and working on it. So for the purpose of the exercise, I don't think I want to enter all the information. I just want to highlight areas where there's the most, where frequently asked questions reside, for an example. Where you see a red asterisk, it means that information is compulsory. You can see now it's just automated the company name, because I wrote NAC on there when I registered the application. So it's already there. Then you have to, your registration number is compulsory. So you have to put a registration number. The type of an organization is compulsory. If you go through, you have to put what the organization is. If it's other, you have to specify and perhaps write a trust. Yeah. And then you need the numbers. So the application will not allow you to go to the next, to submit, for an example, if any of this information is not completed. The areas that I want to highlight is that, okay, it brought up my numbers that I put yesterday, because it's actually preset now. It's taken my personal information because I registered yesterday. Basically, your ID number has to be 13 digits. If it's not 13 digits, when you validate, it will show that that information is incomplete. Your cell phone number is 10 digits. If you miss a number, when you validate, it's going to show you you've missed a number. Your postal address is it's the physical and postal. Where the rest asterisks are, you have to complete it. And management details, you have to include this. For an example, if you choose a position and say someone is a management head, and you put the name, I'm going to just use my name, and you put an ID number, and then you put a contact detail. You do not need, you only add, for an example, if you're adding the next person, but immediately, if you've not completed, it shows you, this is the feedback that you get. The following fields are required: contact, telephone number, ID number, which means it tells you, go back and complete what is required. You've not done so. And as you go through the application, you are required to save constantly. The reason why people will say, I worked on my application, when I went back, the information was not there, is because that information had not been saved. Since this is an online platform, anything that is not saved, it's like it was never there. So basically, this is what it means. When I try to validate, it will pop up to say you haven't completed the sections. So you basically have to go through this and put. And then I want to highlight this area. You have to follow this format. When you put date achieved and you put day, month, and year, it has to go this. You can't do it vice versa, because then the system kicks it out or is unable to read and comprehend it. So I'm going to move to the next session. And how you move to the next session, you move with this tab to the next, or you can scroll onto the top one. Coming again to the section 2, this is how it all goes. The red ones, again, you have to put as required. And you have to follow we follow the date month format. So automatically it follows the date month format. And then the end date, I'm gonna go to July, you scroll with this tab, and then I'm gonna do it. And then it's automatically. But unfortunately, it doesn't count the months for you. You have to do physical counting for the months and say, this is how much it is. So basically this one is almost 1 month long, okay. And then it asks you about the impact that this project will have. So you have to pick the most relevant, I must say, because the tab doesn't allow you to pick more than one. Though when we assess, we'll score you on more than one. So basically, if your project is strictly creative, strictly economic, education, you pick one of the impact areas. And then you have to pick up, you describe the project. Here, when we say describe the benefit of the project in terms of the impact selected and envisaged above. What I usually recommend is that before you attempt to do an application, familiarize yourself with these areas, because you would have thought about this question. Even if you had to write them on the side before you put them on the online platform, if you prefer that way, let it be. Because what happens is that you do need to be, because of the space, you do need to be comprehensive. You do need to write it well somehow. You can't afford, because of the space, to repeat one and the same thing, because then your space will run out. So basically, there has to be some planning and thinking that has to happen before. And all of these things are easier if the project it's something that you do. You're not thinking it or imagining it. If it's a new project, of course, it's going to be difficult, but then try just to put everything together. And then the sections that are important, you cannot afford to skip any of the questions here. It says here, briefly describe your project. You have to give us a description. What is it that you intend to do in a project? If it's a visual arts program you are teaching, or it's a music project you are teaching, say it. Let it focus on a specific form. And what we see as an organization giving to you now as feedback is that people will say, I am doing almost everything. You know, I'm doing music, which means my project is it's got a multidisciplinary approach. It's all the discipline combined and everything. And we fear, because then the project becomes too vague. When we have to align it in terms of the budget and everything, it becomes quite impossible. I must say, though, that for organization, it's easier to do that, because if you are a multidisciplinary organization, you are a multidisciplinary organization. We are not asking you to say otherwise, but try to be specific. That's the point that I want to get across. Be specific on how you describe your project. How will you do this? You have to tell us the methodology. How are you delivering? If it's lessons, how are they planned? The time when they occur, the place where they occur, and who is the facilitator? That becomes then important. Then on your uploads, that means that over and above submitting the CV or the bio of the person making the application, you also need to add on and send and give us this information, because then for other skills, you'll be lending help from other people that needs to help you with the project. And then the next question is that what are the objectives of the project? Now you drill down. You would have described the program or whatever programs that you have. Now you just have to tell us your objectives. And here I encourage people to say, your objectives, think short term, think long term. You can be as briefly or as lengthy as you are, for as long as the space is sufficient for you to say. Tell us the objectives. To say, for an example, if I will make an example with a project that says I'm teaching kids music or dance. So my objective is that I want to promote music literacy amongst the youth between the ages of 9 and 17. Those are the people between higher primary and high school, so that when they go to university, at least they're equipped to take music as a career. That's an ultimate goal or an objective, or the way I want to go with this project. That's just an example. So if it's a visual arts program, it will be along those lines. If it's a professional production, my apologies, if it's a professional production, you have to say as well, to say what is the objective of the project. I want to mount the project at this particular platform during this particular season. It will involve these people. So, and then the next section is that what other assistance do you require from the NAC? This is assistance other than funding. So basically, what other areas do you want the NAC to help you with? We've made an example with report writing, but what we are saying is that if you want us to help you navigate your way through with your local structures like your province, to say where can you get money? Maybe you want to go source some money from CEDA in the area where you live, or NYDA. Then this is available for such. We can help you, assist you, lead from that end. And then the next section is that who will benefit from the project. We want you to separate. You separate people that benefit directly from the project. So the artists that run the project, in terms of their artistic development, you have to say, how will they benefit? Will this bring their level from one place to the upper level? Or will this give them a capacity to earn an income? Or will this give them some kind of, purpose or anything? So you have to say, well, how is the artist or anybody that's part of the program going to benefit? And then your organization, as an organization, how is it going to benefit? You know, if maybe the funding will give you an extra mileage, or will help you give you an added advantage that I spoke about earlier, to be able to actually source monies from elsewhere, now that you have money to cover your basic needs or basic requirements, You have to say that and highlight all of those things. And then, but please bear in mind, these are examples. They are not cast on stone. So you might have a different idea. I'm just pulling out ideas that I'm just using it as examples. Okay. The beneficiaries of the project, how will they benefit? You know, so if your target was learners, if your target was fellow musicians or fellow artists, how will they benefit? That's again in terms of artistic merit, their earning capabilities, their opportunity to showcase the work, the opportunity to expose them to a certain market or to a certain organized market or target. Those things has to come out, because this is the areas where you're gonna be sort of like scrutinized or assessed on. Okay. The community in which the project will take place. Hi, Eugene.
Hi, Lindy. Can I just ask on that section of the beneficiaries? We've received a lot of questions in the past week about
Yes.
who exactly are the beneficiaries when we talk about direct and indirect beneficiaries. Maybe if you could just elaborate on that a little bit.
I do need to elaborate on that. An example, I'll go back to my initial example. If you were saying you're teaching learners of between this age and that age, or professional artists doing this type of an art form, whether it's visual arts, those people become your immediate beneficiaries. The people who will wake up every day and come to the organization or to the program, they become your immediate beneficiaries. And then your indirect or inherent beneficiaries is people who get to benefit as a result of that project happening. For an example, if it's a production or it's a festival, we know festivals are crowd pullers. If there's an opportunity for other like-minded people, other artists to showcase their work, and you're going to have stores for them and all of that, those people become your indirect beneficiaries in a sense. They're not drawing a salary from the project. You are not responsible for their well-being. However, you are responsible in terms of the liability should anything happen wrong in the festival and they get hurt. That's why in the event of festivals, you have to showcase that you've made sure that in terms of what the city requires if you're putting a public event, you've adhered to. In terms of the COVID-19 right now, you can't afford them to put people in a place where they feel vulnerable and say, contracted the disease, I contracted as a result of attending that event, which didn't have 1, 2, 3 on place. So those are the people in terms of differentiating between indirect and direct beneficiaries. In terms of the community in which the project will take place, communities sort of get stimulated by arts programs that happen in a city. A city, for an example, if I'll make the one which is prominent, a city like Grahamstown, it's a small city, it's well known for colleges and education, and it's a laid-back city, but we do know that if there is a national arts festival, the city becomes a buzz. Everyone leave their hometown and go to Grahamstown. If it's the Free State Festival, Makufe at that time, everyone leave their places and go there. That's an advantage that the proposal has for the community. So the benefit then to the community is that mom who runs a lodge at the street corner and then gets to have guests as a result of your project. I'm just explaining some of the benefits that could be there, So in terms of direct beneficiaries, we want you to classify them in terms of female and whatever and race, just to demonstrate quickly. If you say female and then you say African, and then you say number of people, you say 3, and then disabled, you say 0, and then you add, because it totals up. That's action, I have to go back, then it sort of gives you totals. And then you have to add again and say, and I'm going to select my males, okay, to be, and then I'm going to do this, and then number of disabled is 0, and it adds up. If you do not press add, the information doesn't tally, it doesn't add up, it doesn't do anything. And because you've got this add all the time popping up, it doesn't compel you to complete it. To leave, you can leave it. Once you feel like I've covered everybody that's there, I've covered everybody that's represented, you don't need to worry that it still has an add. This one won't affect how you process your application. And then in terms of indirect beneficiary, you have to do this. And that's where it becomes very complex, because now we've put a tab that says activity. But here, an example that I made to say, if an indirect beneficiary has benefited, and then in what activity, if it was in a form of tourism or whatever activity that it was as a result, you will say it, you know. So you have to mention just the activities, and you add and you add. And then you have to constantly save. And then I think I need to move with my next, go to the next slide. I'm gonna move like this because I'm not seeing my tab. Okay. Okay, I think I've covered this. Okay, because it's an online system, this is what it's gonna do all the time. With online system, it takes a while for you to basically navigate, because while it's loading, it won't just do it quickly as much as you can. So you just have to be patient with the system. So when you come to the project planning, it's important that your project plan speaks to what you've already said. And many times you experience a disconnect where people will propose something else, and when it comes to an activity plan, it's something else. When it comes to the budget, it's something else. And then it just becomes difficult for the reviewers to understand what the person is trying to say. And they will, of course, dwell on a project to say, how do I assist this person? But this person is not telling exactly what he wants to do. So basically, make sure that in your proposal, there's an alignment between what you're proposing, and alignment between the activities that will be done as a result of the proposal, and an alignment as well of the budget. Because then we can then relate and say, okay, this is the project, this is how it happens. Okay, just to go back, I think I've just diverted a bit. When you come here, the project plan, it says here, main project activities, and then the start date and the end date. So basically, you have to complete this section. You have to specify the main project activities. If your main project activities, I'm trying to think now to say, if it's gonna be teaching, you just have to say it's gonna be teaching, you know? If it's going to be production, you have to say it's going to be production. Whatever that is, you have to say, where will this activity take place? So basically, if it's a production, there must be a clear indication when you move to rehearsals, when you move to theater, when you move for preview and all of that. Not quite a good example to do now, because people are not going to be moving anywhere because of COVID-19. So, but you have to think along the lines of the project that you want to stream, and say what the activities are, and then you have to add the activities. And then now you're going to talk about the core team. This core team will be different, for an example, from the team, Lindy, who initiated the project. Because now you're bringing the skills of the people that will be running the program. It could be having some different. If you are not compelled to bring the same person or everything. If I'm still going to be playing a role, I have to edit. And then you move to the next section of the application. So the next section of the budget, which attached, this is called the development budget. You have to list the items that you require assistance with, and then you have to say the project amount. The project amount refers to say, in all costs, how much does it cost for you to put this production? However, if you think you're going to be getting support from elsewhere, how much are you requesting from the NAC? We see people completing one or the other, but we encourage people to stipulate, because then we can work out the sums to say, okay, this person will have to scale down and do 1, 2, 3 and all of that, and list everything, and then you add it on. It will, in terms of the totals, I want to highlight here to say your budget, you won't see the total changing here. For an example, if I say 1,000, okay, I don't even know. Okay, let me just say 1,000. The numbers won't change at the bottom if you haven't saved. Once you click on save, that's when it adds up, you know. So basically, while you are working on the budget, it doesn't add up because it's not necessary for you to add up, and it doesn't have. You're not adding information. You're actually summing up. So it allows you, as you navigate your application, once you hit on save, then it starts to auto calculate, and then. If you've received any funding from the NAC, you please list it for us. It helps us, because then if you give the reference number and the amount, we can go back and track. And it gives people, sometimes don't want to mention it, but it helps to a great extent, because if we supported you before, the question that gets asked by reviewers is that this person, did he or she or this organization complete the project? Did they report it fully? Okay, because last time we funded this much, we can up them this time based on their track record that now is a funder. And then in terms of other funding, when you are, so you've pursued in terms of like reaching out and saying we request monies, you put them. And then the status, it's either confirmed or not confirmed. You just have to indicate it. And if I will just touch base on this one and refer you back to the assessment criteria where we said capacity to partner or raise some kind of partnerships. Even if you haven't got anything confirmed, it really helps to say you've approached them, because we do know that supporters, some funders will come through because you've been supported by the NAC, because they know now the project has that ability or that possibility to be executed, because they were maybe at the beginning feeling like, you know what, we don't have enough money and all of that. But if you're partnering with another funder, then or we're matching a certain grant, it will work. So please do indicate if you've pursued any other funder and say what it is. And then here's the last section, which talks to the uploads. If you go through the uploads, this is what a lot of people do, and we just feel like it's a waste of time. People should not be discouraged to do that. It says here, at least 2 office bearers, IDs of office bearers. If it says certified, please certify it, because sometimes people will send a copy of an ID. We don't dispute it's not an ID, but sometimes the photo would have shifted because the ID is old, and we don't know if it has another photo has been put in, we can't verify those records. When it's certified, we know it's indeed the person that's making an application that is making an application. Valid tax clearance, yes, upload it. If it expires during the life of the adjudication, we're not going to throw you out. For an example, your tax clearance expired in February. You put an application in February and you submitted it in February. Now we sit. We do know you have a current or a recent expired tax clearance. At the time, if we get funded, at the time when we require it, it's going to be easy for you to obtain. But if the tax clearance is for 2018, 2019, we just feel like, you know what, you do not take the NAC seriously or yourself seriously. So it's going to be kicked out. In terms of quotations, you have to upload the quotations here. For organization, it feels like it's compulsory, because anything with this asterisk means that you have to supply it. The CV, you have to upload. If you have to upload more, you can upload more. The system allows you to. And then here's another difficult question. People send us bank statements that are password protected. If your password, like for an example, you got it direct from the bank and they wanted you to use your ID to open it up. It's difficult for us to guess to say use the ID to open it up. You have to tell us to say you'll use my ID to open up the statement. Otherwise, it will go as you didn't want to reveal to us to say here's the bank statement or not. People do a lot of sort of things. Some will highlight the bank statement, scratch it out and erase. A bank statement doesn't necessarily mean that the NAC will use it as a determination to say you've got a lot of money, so we're not funding. This is a bank statement of an organization. We're not going to do that. We're not going to base on how much money is available. Hence, with the financial statement as well, we don't base our funding on how much is available. So then we've got your certified copies of the registration certificate, the examples of works, the reference letters, and all of that. All we're asking people is that please upload the relevant information, because if you don't, anything irrelevant uploaded, the system will just absorb it. It will take it in. However, you're still going to get declined, because you don't get reviewed by the system. You get reviewed by individuals on the other side. So if you put a blank page, and then we're just going to throw it out. So as much as people want to feel like, you know what, I've done that application, just know that it's not done. And then we do need to require a comprehensive and a detailed budget. If you want to demonstrate that, you can upload. Then in terms of the capacity building projects, we realize that you will need to involve different people, facilitators, or whoever it is, list of participants, so that when we view the projects, there are no gaps in your application. We require you to upload this information. Same as, even if it's not for capacity building, if you feel like, you know what, this information will make my application to carry weight, you can add it, but please do remember to send us relevant information, because people have a tendency to say, okay, I'll have my proposal, just upload it somewhere, and then I won't bother to complete the application form. And the question then becomes, if you can't take responsibility for the application that you're making, you can't expect officers to deal with that and take responsibility, because we can't pick and choose. And you say, okay, that information was somewhere on page 10 of the proposal, you missed it. We don't want to be responsible for that. So we encourage people to do it and just complete. Here, if I may highlight, this lists the type of proposals or documents that can be uploaded. And then you have to agree, like any other online platform, on the terms and conditions. You have to click on it before you submit. Validation button allows you to say, it's just your blind spot checking. If you validate, for an example, I want to validate and submit. It lists everything. I didn't complete this form. So it's saying, dude, you did not complete the form. So you just have to go back and complete all this section. So it sort of highlights them. And then once you're done, you press the submit button. On the other end, if you submit, once it's submitted, you'll get an auto-generated email that says, here's the application, it has been submitted. Some people have a tendency to just leave things here and say, because I got a registration, my application was submitted. And they come to appeal and say, you know what, I submitted an application, and we said, yes, indeed, you registered the application, but you did it. It's like that mail that you put in your house and never take it to the postal office. We never got it. So make sure that an application that has been registered, if you want us to review it, do complete it and submit it. Thank you. I think I'm going to end here. Eugene?
Thank you very much, Lindy. Thank you very, very much. Okay, that was a very good presentation. Maybe we can stop sharing the screen, Lindy, and then we can respond to questions. I see.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm going to stop. My apologies.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
So I don't see too many questions that have come through for this particular session. But we're still seeing a lot of questions coming through from the first presentation. But before we go to questions from the first presentation, I just want us to talk quickly then, or to raise questions on the application form presentation specifically. So because we're not seeing questions on the chat box for this, can I please ask, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go screen by screen. If you would like to ask a question, just raise your hand. So if you look at the reaction button at the bottom, you can do the raised hand as I am now. If you look at my screen, it will show the raised hand. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, please raise your hand. I'm just going to go through screen by screen, and then I'll call out your name and note you, and then we'll give you an opportunity to ask a question. This is specifically just to the application form. If there are no questions coming through, we'll go through the questions from the previous presentation that have come through on the chat. Okay, so I've gone through page 1. Nobody's raising a hand to ask a question. I'm going through page 2. No one is raising a hand. And now I'm on page 3. Nobody's raising a hand. I'm just going back again to see if there's anyone who would like to ask a question on the application form specifically. Okay, go hello. I see your hand is raised. I see Anita, your hand is raised. So go hello, and then Anita. Let me see if there are any other raised hands coming through. Okay, so for now we just have go hello and we have Anita. So can we take a question from go hello, and then we'll get somebody to respond, and then we will take Anita. You can just unmute yourself. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me?
Hear you? Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I just want to ask on the upload side, the last time, because I contacted SARS in terms of the tax clearance certificate, and then they told me about the PIN, like I have to have a PIN and then give it to you guys. So I just want to ask if maybe on the upload side, I can get that PIN and then maybe upload the PIN on the upload document, and then you can get access to my tax clearance certificate. Will that work, or do I have to get the tax clearance certificate on my own? Because honestly speaking, it was a hassle to get the certificate from them, because they said they only can issue a PIN for me. So the question is, can I upload the PIN and then you guys can access it from your side? Thank you.
Lindy, do you want to respond to that for us?
I will respond to it. Puleng will
Okay, sure,
respond.
Puleng.
When you submit an application
Yes.
at SARS, and once it's successful, they will give you like a front page. In fact, it's a notification letter that states your name and your tax standing, which is maybe in good standing, or your status, to make it very easy for you. And then it will have a PIN, and then it will state expiry date of the PIN. That letter, that's what you can attach on your folder for tax clearance certificate.
Is that clear,
Okay.
Gauhelo?
Yes, no, it's clear. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anita, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Hi, Anita.
Oh,
Um,
hi. Can you
yes,
hear
yes,
me?
Anita. We can hear you now.
Okay. Hi, thank you so much for this thingy. My question is with regards to what I was looking at doing. Just a quick background thing. I did PR and I worked in digital marketing, right? And I've been working with artists on a personal basis. So what I saw is a lot of small artists, or can I say micro artists? I don't know. But small artists want to have their artwork publicly available for other people to buy, or to create prints and stuff like that. So I was wanting to do an online platform that can create that, that platform where people can just upload their art, and then the consumer can pick if they want to have it in a print on canvas or on a t-shirt or whatever. So would you guys be able to fund that, or is that something that's not on your funding list criteria thing?
Okay, Puleng, can I ask you to take that for us?
Quick one. As Lindy stated, middlemen are very much discouraged, but in your sense of how you're going to approach it, it's something that we can look at. Online publication, whether it be a showcasing or also producing a catalog, it is support. And especially when you look at the current situation, we support those kind of initiatives. However, if you have an agreement with the individuals or the participants for that platform, that you have a letter that is a standing and a binding document between you and an applicant that an artist, that you can publish or even showcase their work, then you are fine. That's NAC can comfortably support you as the leader on behalf of the artist.
Okay. I'm also an artist, so it was from my standpoint, but including other artists as well. So, okay, I get you. Thank you very much.
As long as there's an agreement and you're all in one page about this, and we have that thing, is the document that is transparent, stating the relationship you guys have, then it's fine.
Okay, one more question before I go. So when I'm applying, I'll have to have all the other documents that you guys mentioned, right? That's compulsory.
Yes, if you're deciding that you're going to apply as an individual, there will be all those documents that we have listed on the chat group. You have to submit them. If you're applying as an organization, also make sure that all the documents that are required, you also submit them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anita. You adequately covered?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we had another question from Nolita, who's saying that she has a small business. She does not have annual financial statements yet, as she's never been required to have them before. Is this going to be a challenge in terms of her application being approved for funding? Puleng?
Yes, it's going to be a challenge. But Nolita, I want to ask you what stops you from applying as an individual, just from an interest point of view, because anything that you're deciding on, you want to apply as an individual, give us the documents for individual. If you're applying as an organization, give us the documents of the organization. So NAC, fortunately, it supports individuals that just wants to do their own business or wants to create their work. So you may consider applying as an individual.
Ms. Nolita, would you like to respond, ask a further question? You can unmute yourself. Ms. Nolita? Okay, it seems that we have lost Ms. Nolita. I see Anita, you raised her hand again, and Kalani has also raised her hand. I'll take you, Anita, quickly, and then we'll give an opportunity to Kalani. If anyone else wants to ask a question, please raise a hand. I'm going through the pages now. I'll note you. We'll start with you, Anita.
Okay, thanks again. So just picking up from a point that Usisi just made. So if I want to open that platform on a personal basis as an artist, because I work with clay, I do clay pipes, can I now ask for funding to create that online platform from you guys as an individual?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Make it very short for you.
Thank you.
Kalani, we'll take your question now.
Okay.
You can unmute yourself, Kalani.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, my question is what has been raised already about the documents that you need to submit. I was wondering if it's possible that you have a PDF right now of all these documents. So, because it does seems that on the application form to be the bigger stumbling block so that we can download them now.
Sorry, Kalani, just elaborate again. You're saying you want the application form to be downloaded?
No, I just very clear. Kalani is requesting that send information.
A list of documents, yes.
Yes, of the attachment, the compliant, administrative compliance. He wants a document which speaks about the administrative compliance. For example, if Kalani goes to our online platform, you will see that we have a National Arts Council funding criteria, which indicates, if you go down, if you read it through, you will see the documents right at the last page of the document. It will state the applications for individuals. What do we need? Supporting documents. And I've listed them on the chat group. I don't know if you saw my reply to you. But if you want us to send it directly to you, you can drop us an email, yeah? Or even leave the email address, and then we can send you the documents as to what we request.
No problem.
Thank you very much, Puleng. Tabi, I want to just ask you to help me, please. If you go through the screen, there's somebody called Nolita. I think on my screen, she comes through on page 3. Can you unmute her? And then I also see, is it Savane or Savan's iPhone? I note you.
Okay.
But if quickly before we get to Savan,
Should we
can
start
we
with
ask
Nolita?
with Nolita? Yes. Can we unmute Nolita and then let Nolita ask a question? She can't seem to unmute on her side. Can you unmute her, please, Tabi?
Okay.
Ms. Nolita, I think you have been unmuted now. Do you want to ask your question? As I see she's still muted, Tabi. Do you want to try and unmute her again?
Yes,
There
she's
we go.
unmuted.
Okay, Nolita, you can ask your question. Ms. Nolita? Okay. It looks like Ms. Nolita is still not able to ask her question. We can mute her again, Tabby. Then can we just take, I don't know how to pronounce it, is it Savan who wants to ask a question? You can unmute yourself, please.
It's Savan.
Savan. Thank you, Savan. Please ask your question.
I have two questions actually. One being, could you please go over section 3 under main project activities on the application form? And then secondly, I'd also like to know that don't you think that there's a thin line between making short films as well as digital media? Because seeing that we are in a space where we can't really have productions based on, due to the global pandemic that's actually happening. So we are doing like an online kind of production. So do you think that that will still be funded?
Yes, Savan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ms. Puleng.
Thank you very much. Thank you for raising that question, and thank you for clarifying it, because that's one of the things that we are battling with. We're calling for projects that are digitally based project, and what you have explained, it's something that we can definitely fund. However, documentaries and production of film is not what we can fund due to our budgetary constraints. And second to that, we have a sister organization, which is the National Film Association, which is competent. But if you want us to support you in terms of researching or even script writing for the film, then we can support that. That's how far we can go. But then if you want to then expand in platforming it or even showcasing, then we can't be supporting it, because then we have a sister organization that is responsible for film productions.
Thank you very much, Puleng. Savan, are you responded to? Are you covered?
Not really.
Please elaborate.
I just, thing is that I'm trying to figure this whole digital media, the thin line between digital media as well as short film, you know? So thing is that we can't really have a production, like a theater production. So we now want to broadcast it online. I just wanted to know if will that be funded?
Yes, you've explained it in relation to what we will definitely support.
Okay.
It's a theater, you're only putting it in a digital platform, and definitely, we will definitely support that. So it's important you explain it thoroughly, because that's where the confusion is. Someone will say, and purely because they will be saying, I want to do my theater, but putting it in a digital space, but the way they've put it on the brief, it sounds like it's a film, but basically it's not a film. It's just automatically using a different medium of expression to showcase your work.
If I can just add to that, Puleng, Savan, when you do your application, please put it through as theatre, because if you put it through as film, it will be rejected. If you put it through as theatre, because it is a theatre production, the only thing you're doing is you're digitizing the production. You're going to shoot the production. We had another organization that did something similar, but they didn't shoot it. They took it to radio, so that we don't have that conflict of whether it's film or not. But if it's put on a radio platform, it's still a theatre production. It's just so they adapted it for radio. So you could also consider that as an alternative. But just be very clear that your application is for theatre and not for film when you're doing the application.
Okay, so what if I do the shooting not in a theater, but in various locations? Would that still be a little bit?
Then it becomes a film.
Then it becomes a film, so it has to be shot in a theater.
In a theater, or you take it into a radio studio and you do it as a voice production on radio.
Okay.
Puleng? Yeah.
They call it podcast, I think.
Podcast, yes, I'm aware of it, Ms. Puleng.
Yeah, podcast. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Another question I had was, could you please go over main project activities under section 3 on the application form? Yes,
Sis Lindy,
please.
can you maybe just, I don't know if you can project it still, maybe you can just talk through it without projecting it and maybe explain it further.
Okay, can I just understand the specific question from the gentleman? Where do you want me to zoom in?
On section 3 under project activities on May project activities.
What do you want to know about the project activities, Savannah?
In terms of the outcomes.
Okay, here's, let me just attempt to respond to it.
Please, Charmaine.
When you speak about main project, am I allowed, Sis Lindy?
Yes, you are. I'm just saying, please do.
Okay, project plan, which is the section I think you're referring to, and it will start with the main project activities. It's where you state what is the activities, the actual activities that are taking place, right? And it will have a date. Then you state the date that you're going to start the activity, and then you will have an end date, and then you will have a place of activities. Then you state the outcomes. If, for example, you're saying you want to, for example, you want to do the theater production, but you want to do it in a digital space, but you want to use theater spaces to showcase, or even other locations. You state then one, what are you going to start doing? If it is about rehearsing the script, or is about or acting it out or reading out the script. I don't know what will be the nitty-gritties of the activity that you have in place. And then the outcomes is that by that time when you finish, what will you have achieved? If it's 6 scripts that have been read or rehearsed, that's what you write. Those are the outcomes achieved when you, with your first activity. Same as the second activity. If the second activity is about ensuring that the costumes are designed for, or they are assigned to the characters, and then you have a start date and end date, and what are those costumes you would have had for character 1, costume done, and character 2, costume done. Those are the outcomes.
Okay.
Okay,
Lindy,
just to add on.
Thank you, Ms. Lindy.
Okay, I just want to add, in terms of activities, there's 5 questions that you have to answer yourself when you do an activity plan. We call it the 5 W's. You have to say who's doing what, when, where, how, and why. So basically, as you think of your project, try to show us all of that, to say the project is well thought through. Then you'll be able, I'm just adding on what Buleng has said, without discounting it. She's actually answered it very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? We'll give it another 5 minutes and then we will end the session. If there's anybody else who has a question, I see a lot of the questions that have come through on the chat we have responded to. People have requested that we send emails. We'll do that. We've also put our email address if you have any other further questions. So we'll just give it another 5 more minutes. If there's anyone who'd like to ask questions, I'm on page 1. Richie, Gwena, Marius, is there anyone who'd like to ask a question? Noxie, Naledi, anyone on page 2 who'd like to ask a question, just raise your hand. One man show, if anyone would like to ask a question. Okay, I have Lesejo. Lesejo has raised a hand. I just want to see, is there anybody else who wants to ask a question? So we've noted Lesejo. Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question? Siabulela, Bule, anyone with a question? No? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to, okay, this Siabulela says that they've raised a hand. So it's Lesejo and then Siabulela. Is there anyone else? Okay, so we're going to take Lesejo's question, and then after Lesejo, Siabulela will ask a question, and then we will end this session.
Good day, everyone.
Hi, Lesejo.
Hi. I just wanted to find out if, because there's these sites online that host 3D exhibitions, and I just wanted to find out if is it possible to apply for funding to pay for extension of the sites, because one site is allowing me to exhibit 10 artworks on a 3D space. So I was wondering if, and then they asked me that I should pay a specific amount just to get more artworks in the space. So I was wondering, is it possible for me to include that within the application, and is that valid to be funded by you guys?
Yes, it is valid. I mean, it's the same as going to Goodman Gallery to give you guys a space. So this is an online space. You can get funding to pay the fee to participate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got a question from Tabo, and then after Tabo, we're going to take a question from Noxie. So we'll start with you, Tabo. Hi, Tabo, we can see you. You can ask. Oh, Vagali Buddhi. Hi, Buddhi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Good stuff. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to find out, in fact, it's a request at first. I just wanted to request that, you see, having to give people over 5 days to submit an application where it's a first-time experience is quite tricky. So I would like to request that in future, when such happens, can we at least get ample time to give us enough time to do research, construct documents, you know, having to deal with such an application at first, especially when it's a first-time experience, might be very difficult.
Sure.
I would just like to find out as to, in terms of DJs, can you not maybe provide enough support? Because I'm sure you can even see on the list of people that are here that there's people that I know personally that are DJs. It just shows the need for funding, the need for support, but most importantly, the need to access information. It is quite sad and very painful to try and have projects or ideas where you don't even have access to information. Where do you start? And who do you speak to? I mean, we live in the Northern Cape, but there isn't much unity amongst artists. And that is just the request to say, in future, can you just guys look at maybe giving much more support to DJs? Because as I'm speaking to you, there isn't much in our industry that is benefiting us. Currently, we are destitute. The only thing we can do is online stream events. As we were looking at it to say, can you not pardon maybe the requirements to say, let's just look at maybe funding just a few of them, or maybe try making the rules a little bit more lenient. Even if you can fund one, at least it's a start. Because most of us do not even have an income. We do have ideas for projects, but as I've been listening, what I can take is most of the projects are not funded by the National Arts Council. And if there's any other support that we can get from other organizations other than National Arts Council that you might know of, please be kind enough to forward us the information. It would be gladly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabo. Thank you. I'm going to, before I ask Linda to respond to the issue of DJs, I think we have talked about it, but your comments are certainly noted. I just want to say, in terms of the information and reaching out, we actually started this process 3 weeks ago. And the reason why we're doing this session this weekend is because the feedback was not as much as we would have liked to receive when we started this process 3 weeks ago. So 3 weeks ago, we started doing these sessions. The application has been open for, we opened applications for funding, I think in February, if I'm correct, Lindy, February or March already. So we've had this call open for a very long time. Also, I'm going to ask artists to look for information as well. You know, to log onto our website, to look at platforms where there's information on funding that's available and calls for funding. So what we've done in this case is we tried to reach out 3 weeks ago to beneficiaries to say, it's COVID-19, you probably can't call the office, can't come into the office, but let's try to assist you on this platform. And we had some good feedback, but clearly it was not representative of the entire country. And so what we did then is we said, in this last week before we close, let's try to do more sessions for artists. And we asked our networks in the provinces to reach out to you so that you could be part of these sessions today. So yes, it's a bit late, but yes, it's also been open for a while. And we also encourage artists to look, because it's not always easy for us to go and find you, but we encourage you just to continue to look for this information, to search as well on the kind of funding that's open and that's available, because this has been open for a very long time. But I'm going to ask Lindy, and before I ask Lindy, I just want to say, Thabo, your comments on DJs, we've noted perhaps we need to have a bigger discussion in the National Arts Council around this issue. But I'm just going to ask Lindy to weigh in on this for us quickly. And then I think that was the last question we had. If after this question from Lindy, nobody else is asking, we will log off. So let me just ask Lindy just to respond quickly on that.
On the issue of DJs, I just want to say we can't turn a deaf ear, to be honest. I've also said this is the area where youth thrives. And until we have a proposal put forward, a panel for discussion, who are unable to actually understand the needs out there. So I would encourage to say, do put forward proposals so that you can be heard. And I've heard a lot of times where youth says, if we're not involved, let nothing be done for us. We must hear from them to say, what is it that needs to be done? And with the COVID-19 pandemic and all of that, things are changing, so we cannot deny that fact. So I would just encourage people to apply, follow the NAC guidelines, rather apply as an individual for now, because you've never had that opportunity and the track record, and somehow you feel like you marginalized. But we don't want to feel like we've closed you off, and deny you an opportunity that exists or that might exist. Thank you.
Siyabulela, I see you have noted in the chat that you had a question as well. You can answer that. You can pose your question now.
Okay, thank you. My question is based on the documents or stuff, those ones that we have to upload. It's based on the text clearance one. You see, I'm living in the Eastern Cape, in the far lands of in the villages, and it's very much difficult. We've been struggling to get our text clearance to be compliant. As even now, I got into the meeting at about 10:30 because there was no network, so I had to drive down to someone's house, which is next to where I could get coverage. Now it's going to be difficult because as I'm standing here, I'm not just talking about myself and my project also. I'm just also talking about the crafters and people that are staying in the near places that I'm in. This thing of online for us, it becomes very difficult in terms of accessing it. But now, the only way we could drive, we have to drive about 3 hours to go to Umtata in order for us to go to the offices. But when we went there last week, the offices are still closed. They are not open for operations. I heard the presentation that was now saying that if the tax is actually 2020 and it is expired in February, then you may consider it. But my also question is that if it happens that maybe it's March or it's April, it's supposed to be submitted by then, and we go and get access and we are able to update, are we going to be able to send the certificate that is updated after the applications? Because the application will be closing on Friday. So if it happens that we're not be able to assist it by Friday, is it possible that when you take the text, we upload the text clearance that is actually expired in February or March, how is it possible that we can also enter the updated one during the course after the applications?
Okay, just to answer the question, you're not going to be able, once it's submitted, you're not going to be able to upload by yourself. You need assistance from the back office. So what you could do, once you obtain it, if you had submitted the one that expired, you send it by email to the relevant officer or to info@NAC, And then at the back office, we will upload it for you to say, this is the tax clearance that came as a result to replace the one that has expired. But because I said I need to clarify this so that people can make a clear distinction. If the tax clearance was not submitted with the application, you cannot then send it through back office and say, include my tax clearance, do 1, 2, 3. We are saying if it expired during the time of the application process. For an example, we've got people that have already submitted the application. We have started with the reviews. However, we noticed that, okay, we haven't even given them the outcome yet, the tax clearance has expired. I was trying to separate the two issues to say, if a tax clearance expired in 2019, clearly you were not ready in January, and you cannot say you were inconvenienced by lockdown and everything. But we do know that since the lockdown in March, people got a lot of inconvenience and all of that. So any tax clearance that expired earlier when we opened the application forms, we will look at saying, okay, we'll consider the tax clearance as it is, and then you can submit it later and send it via the back office for us to upload. But if it was non-existent from the beginning, we will not be able to upload it. And if your tax clearance maybe expired last year in February and all of that, clearly you were not ready. I hope I make sense though.
No, thank you. Thank you, it's clear.
Thank you, Siabulela. Thank you, Lindy. And Noxie, I see you wanted to ask a question. I don't know if you'd asked earlier if you want to ask another question, Noxie. Okay, I see you've unmuted. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hi, I would like to ask, as a fashion designer, now that we're going digitally, is it possible to also apply for machinery, as I've asked before, and then also apply for electronic buying facilities, assistance, to be able, for my clients to be able to buy electronically, but being assisted, because it's a lot of work to go through all of that. There's a lot of things and funding for that. That means you have to do photo shoots to upload your stuff. Are you able to fund something like that?
Charmaine, Puleng, Lindy, anyone want to take this?
We keep on talking the new way, the new normal of doing things.
And yes.
Yeah, it's some of these things we're battling with because they've never been asked before, and our criteria have been rigid in a way to say this is what. But now that we are in the place where we are, we will consider. It depends how much is involved, because remember, you've got budgetary constraint. How much is involved? All those things.
Okay.
And if your project as it is, it carries weight.
Okay.
Yeah? And you mentioned, did you mention fashion design?
Yes.
It just depends to say, with fashion design as an arts, or to classify it as an art skill or something, we have to draw, there's a thin line somewhere, we have to separate the things, because as the NAC, we say, if your design elements have got artifacts or arts things, or they're leaning on the side of the arts, that's when we'll consider it. But if it's your normal designs, you might not qualify.
But that was my next question, because we find that we don't even know where we stand as fashion designers, as artists, or just commercial retail people. But it's always been a challenge. But I do draw on my clothes, so I put on paint on my clothes. So I don't know if that is considered as art or what. Yes.
Fabric painting and all of that is considered as art. The artist impressions that are done on fabric, they're considered as art. But in your application, all of those things have to come up clear, because that's what separates you from the rest.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noxie. Thank you very much, Lindy. We are now reaching the end of our session. I'm going to ask Puleng, Charmaine, and Lindy just to make any closing remarks before we close the session. So I'm going to start with you, Puleng, and then we'll move on to Charmaine. And then Lindy, you can close off the session for us. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, I don't want to repeat what I've said before, Lindy, what they've said before, but I would like to sensitize our potential applicant to know that the officials are the point of entry, but there's a pool of individuals that are making a decision on behalf of you guys, which is the panel and the council. So it's important that your project activities are clear, your project brief is clear, the budget, and they all have a sequence so that you can have a winning application form. So I would urge and encourage you to give it a try and bring those innovative ideas. We are prepared to chop and change just to accommodate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Puling. I'm just going to take, sorry, I know I said we're closing, but Anita seems to have a pressing question. I'm going to take Anita's question, and then we'll answer it, and then I'll move on to Charmaine, and then we'll close off with Lindy. So that will be the last question now, the last one from Anita. So let's just hear Anita's question, please.
Sorry, guys. This is very odd. Do you guys, would you see cultural practices as an art form?
Okay, quickly, in what sense?
Okay, so I'm a not a traditional healer, but I use my culture in a like as an art form to connect people with their like itongo labo, but it's like in a cultural way. So I've been doing these things where I do online not sessions but something like that. But a lot of people have been asking me to do like bigger ones, but I don't have the budget, you know. But I see it for me as an art form. How would I even be able to start that conversation?
You can start the conversation. Can I answer that question?
It's opening, yeah.
Thank you very much, because I've dealt with proposals of that nature. We have the national heritage. I don't know if you know about it. They have funding. And trust you me, they lack this kind of proposal from you to be supported, and it will influence and change the policy they currently have. So it would be important that you take the opportunity to, you know, shoot your proposals to them, and they will definitely be of the good place to support you.
Who's that? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
The National Heritage.
National Heritage Council, NHC.
Okay, the other body to consult with or to put your application forward to is the National Department of Arts and Culture, as an overarching body that takes care of the arts and the culture matters. Because that's what, there's a divide, because then we're taking care of the arts and you're purely on the side or leaning on the side of cultural practices and the arts. So there's no way that we should not say it doesn't form part of arts and culture. It does form part of arts and culture. So I will encourage, if you want to win, really, you have to approach the Department of Arts and Culture and apply there as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Lindy, for responding, and Puling for responding to that question. Charmaine, any closing remarks from you?
Sure. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you so much, everyone. For me, I just want to say that our doors are open, okay, not physically doors now that we're dealing with COVID-19, but we have officials who are really willing to assist you guys. So should you have anything that you don't understand, you are welcome to email us directly, and we will be very happy to assist where we can. And all the best with all your application forms. And thank you so much, Eugene. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Charmaine. Lindy, can I take a question? Can I get closing remarks from you?
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to all. And I just want to say to the participants, please take us to task, take the government to task. We would not know if you're not sending out those proposals. Where you can send them, send them. If for any reason you are not declined because the funding is limited, you keep on trying, don't despair, and you keep on making those contacts and sending those emails. Thank you so much.
I got you, Richie. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lindy. Thank you so much to everybody else. If you know anyone from Mpumalanga and from Limpopo, kindly tell them that we are having these sessions, a session like this at 2 p.m. this afternoon. If they can also join in on the late afternoon session, we're looking specifically for artists in Mpumalanga and Limpopo to participate in that afternoon session. Thank you very much to everyone who has participated today. We are grateful. We hope that we have answered your questions as best as we could, and we hope that you're leaving here more enriched than you came in this morning. So thank you very much, and have yourselves all a very wonderful Saturday afternoon. Thank you. Thanks, Richie. I see that. Thank you so much. Thanks. Maka Arts, thank you. Thanks, Ayanda. Thanks, Mvuso. Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Kani. Thank you very much. Tabi, you can disconnect for us.